What is your favorite? Very creepy fact. I saw a news story on a woman with a rare type of epilepsy that causes her to see everything like a slideshow or a video game that gets 10 FPS. She described watching cars drive by and saying they freeze in place for a moment and then snap into position further down the road over and over. Her entire life is played out in front of her eyes in still frames, and because of that she wears blinders or earmuffs because her senses are constantly contradicting one another and it overwhelms her. I can't imagine how horrifying it would be to experience life like she does. Your eye has approximately the same proteins as an egg white. And both react similarly to hydrochloric acid, which solidifies the usually liquid substances. Anesthesia awareness exists. Being conscious during surgery is an actual experience people have. Cotard's delusion is a rare psychiatric condition, severe cases of which cause the sufferer to wholeheartedly believe they are dead, putrefying, or simply do not exist. Some Cotard's patients refuse to eat, as they do not believe they need to, with one notable patient dying of starvation. Another woman once asked to be taken to a morgue, to be with the other dead people. Indian followers of the Zoroastrianism don't bury or burn their dead. Instead they leave the bodies in special towers, exposed to the elements to be eaten by vultures. Unfortunately the vultures are now endangered, leaving the bodies to slowly rot. The US is still missing at least 6 nuclear bombs somewhere on the continent from Broken Arrow incidents. When a person is electrocuted in the electric chair, they feel everything. They are fully aware of their bodies being fried as it happens in real time. One inmate who survived the first round of electrocution said it tasted like cold peanut butter. If given access to it, butterflies will happily drink blood. Your eyeballs flatten when you die, leaving your corpse seeming to have no eyeballs. The island of Okunoshima in the inland sea of Japan is known for 2 reputable things. 1. It's named Rabbit Island because of the overabundance of wild rabbits, and 2. The island has World War II ruins of a chemical weapons factory, creating poison-like mustard gas in its attacks on China. So vital was its secrecy to the Japanese government that they tried to wipe its location off maps. The children's story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin was based on a real event. Hamelin town records start with this event. The earliest written record is from the town chronicles in an entry from 1384 which states, "It is 100 years since our children left. No one know what or who took the children. But there's records of the entire town's children being taken." Scaphism. The worst way of execution I've ever heard of. The word comes from Greek which stands for hollowed out. The victim is trapped between 2 boats, fed and covered with milk and honey, which then attracts all kinds of insects and vermin that fester and devours you over a couple of days. When you happen to be murdered, there is only an about 40% chance that your murderer will be found and punished. In 1844, there was a case of hysteria in a French convent of nuns. One started meowing, and after a week all the nuns were meowing harmoniously in the afternoons. It didn't stop until neighbors called soldiers. There is a rare genetic disease called fatal familial insomnia where over the course of months you literally cannot go or be put to sleep no matter what you take or what you do. The symptoms get progressively worse until finally you stay awake watching yourself go insane until you die from exhaustion. After getting stung by a cone snail, you don't feel the sting for a little bit. There is no antivenom and it can be lethal. Treatment is basically keeping the victim alive until the venom wears off. There was a man from France, named Terrare, 1772 to 1798, who couldn't stop eating. By the time he was 17, his parents kicked him out. He was eating his own body weight in food daily at the time. When he enlisted in the army rations just couldn't satisfy him. Often, he would sneak out at night and search for offal in the garbage and the gutters. He was hospitalized. Doctors trying to find a cure, but at night he would raid the morgue. Scientists unable to stop his ability to eat almost anything began to study it. They'd feed him such random things as eels. He'd swallow whole lizards, a kitten and puppies, all of which he ate alive. When a 14-month-old baby disappeared, he was chased from the hospital by an angry mob. He later died of tuberculosis. Your insides are constantly moving around and stuff. I hate this, but it's my favorite for that reason. The bodies of the sailors who died on the Edmund Fitzgerald are still down there. almost perfectly preserved, due to the water at that depth being just barely above freezing. Divers who have explored the wreckage have seen their bodies frozen in place to parts of the ship, and have come back reporting that they feel as if they were being followed during their time underwater. Photos were taken, but per the request of the crew's family, they have never been released to the public. Edit. Source. A human corpse decomposes 4 times faster in water than in the ground, and 8 times faster in open air than in the ground. Angler fish. When angler fish mates, the male literally deforms its body and fuses with the female, then they live together for the rest of their lives. About 3,000 people disappear every year in the US and are never found again. Patchouli was used to cover up the smell of decaying flesh during the Black Plague. The fulmar is a bird that defensively spits an orange oily substance at attackers. When the attacker tries to go to wash the oil off its wings, it often drowns because it is no longer buoyant. Also, that stomach oil is a nutrient-rich food source, so feel free to make a fulmar spit it in your mouth. Tarantulas can swim. The human brain continues to give off electrical signals for 20 to 40 seconds after death. It's estimated that there is around 25 to 50 active serial killers in the US. The average human will shed about 40 pounds of skin throughout their lifetime. Somewhat recently, 2012, scientists discovered over 1,400 new species of bacteria living in the belly button. Everyone's belly button ecology is unique. Add it to the fingerprints and snowflakes list. In that same study, one volunteer's belly button harbored bacteria strands that had only ever been found in soil from Japan, where this man has never been. It takes approximately 359 humans to have enough iron to forge a sword from their blood. The last use of a guillotine in France was the same year the first Star Wars movie premiered. 1977. When your organs are taken out of your body for abdominal surgery, they don't get placed back in carefully or specifically. You just put all the organs back in and the body sorts itself out. On top of that, some people are born with a condition called situs inversus, in which all their organs are a mirror image of what is normal. Having this automatically disqualifies you from being in the military. Edit. The military disqualification very well might have been either a lie, or a miscommunicated or outdated fact by my EMT instructor who was in the army decades ago. He would also tell us little-known laws he knew from his police days, some of which sometimes turned out to have changed since his retirement. That's my bad for not confirming with the almighty Google before posting. While most parents do what they can to prevent or stop their babies from crying, that's not always the case in Japan. That's because it's a 400-year-old Japanese tradition that if a sumo wrestler can make your baby cry, it means he or she will live a healthy life. During a special ceremony, parents hand over their infants to sumo wrestlers who bounce their precious tots up and down and sometimes even roar in their little faces to get the tears flowing. He's not a baby that cries much, but today he cried a lot for us and we are very happy about it, Mother Mei Shiga said at a 2014 event. Vlad the Impaler was called that because he killed his enemies by placing them ass first on pointed poles that would slowly skewer them to death. The US has never made a Purple Heart since the 40s because they mass-produced them in case of a ground invasion of Japan. Chainsaws were originally invented for childbirth. Squeezing someone's balls very tightly can have roughly the same effect as using an epinephrine pen. Don't try this please, it will be very painful. Dogs like squeaky toys because it sounds like a small animal being crushed. Feeding a human body to pigs will cause them to eat everything except the teeth. Egyptian mummies are significantly more rare than they used to be because Europeans ate a lot of them. They were looted from Egypt and used as medicine. Female mummies in ancient Egypt were always more decomposed than their male counterparts. They discovered that this was because male bodies were embalmed a lot sooner than female bodies. Female bodies were kept at the family home until they started to decompose in order to avoid necrophilia at the embalmers. The thighs contain the most calories. That you smell better when you're asleep. Foreskin is used to grow skin for those that need skin transplants. Patients undergoing colonoscopies are most commonly put under conscious sedation, meaning the anesthetic doesn't actually numb pain, or even send you unconscious. They just impair your ability to form memories. You are awake and aware of the pain. You just don't remember. You could be killed instantly by a brain hemorrhage, aneurysm, and have no warning signs prior. 1 second you're perfectly fine. And the next you're dead. You have a bunch of microscopic parasites called demodex on your eyelashes and in the pores on your face. They come out at night to lay eggs on and eat the oils on your face. While filming the movie, The Exorcist, many actors got injured. The set burned down. A priest was brought in several times to bless the set. And the actor who played Burke, Jack McGowan, died of influenza. Just so you guys know. The Exorcist, a supernatural horror film directed by William Friedkin, was based on the 1971 novel of the same name by William Peter Blatty, which was in turn inspired by the exorcism case of Roland Doe, a pseudonym given to the victim by the Catholic Church. The 1973 film portrays the demonic possession of a 12-year-old girl. The story revolves around how the mother of the child attempts to seek normalcy in her daughter's life with the help of 2 priests who conduct exorcism. From its onset, the film went through troubled waters. Prestigious directors not only turned down the film, but ominous events surrounded the year-long shoot. Nearly 9 people died who were associated with the production of the film, and a mysterious fire destroyed the set one weekend. People started to believe that the project itself was recursed. A priest was brought in several times on the set to bless the film, its actors and the project. However, as if all the tragedies during the filmmaking process were not enough, that just after the work was wrapped up, the actor who played Burke in the film died of influenza.